What's up, everyone? Welcome down to the vault. You know, I got to ask you, are you watching this on your smart TV? Don't you think it looks much better on TV?
Big screen on a couch, relaxing.
I know, comfortable. I like it much better. So try my show on your TV. You'll probably like it better. And if you're going to drink coffee in the morning, what are you drinking?
We only drink Death Wish here because it's the best.
It's the zippiest. And if you want to send a message from me to someone,
Cameo.com.
And we have our own T-shirts and patches, don't we, Walt?
GreyhavenMedia.net.
Remember that. Now, today's episode is about something that was very dear to me when I was a kid.
Me too.
I mean, I'm just saying, as for me,
Yes.
it helped shape who I am and the things that my lyrical content and just the way I approach things. And I'm talking about this show. It's called Creature Features. And if you grew up in the Bay Area in the 70s, because we are a little older than most people, you grew up, there was an outlet to watch a horror show. Now you could just go to Sci-Fi Network, or you could go to YouTube, or you can go to Netflix, and you could pick up a horror movie anytime you want. But in the 70s, there was 13 channels. Remember, Walt?
You're captive.
And you had only so many of those channels are going to show a scary movie once in a while. I mean, the week of Halloween was basically when you got it. But from 1971 to 79... Well, actually 84, but we're going to talk about the first inception of the show. There was Creature Features, and it was on either on Friday or Saturday night. Sometimes it changed back and forth. Sometimes it was on at 9:30, sometimes at 11:30. Sometimes it would be on, then they would show the news, and then they would do another movie, and it changed. But, I mean, it was a big part of my life. I was into very scary movies. I watched Dark Shadows as a serial, because it was on, it was like a soap opera every day on ABC. And that's where I got into horror. And then my father, turned me on to, staying home as my mother went out to play bingo. Me and my brother stayed home. We watched Sanford and Son. What was the one with Chico and the Man? And then we watched Creature Features. And so this was the one show a week where you could get your horror or sci-fi fix.
And you're right, because sci-fi is another part that it was really underground back then,
sure.
Right?
I mean, the first time I saw Night of the Living Dead was on Creature Features, and I remember, being just so scared. I remember I never forget the first scene when they're coming through the cemetery, and he's trying to scare them, coming to get you, Barbara. I love that sort of thing. And this is where I got my fix on that. And the host was kind of a quirky guy, Bob Wilkins.
Iconic.
Deadpan. Everybody knows who Bob Wilkins was. Give us a little bit of history on Bob.
I'll give you a quote that he says, "Don't stay up late. It's not worth it." He always underplayed himself the movies.
He would say, this movie is a turkey.
It sucks.
Go turn on the channel, go to something else and watch. You're not going to like this. And I just love that deadpan delivery. And he was just, to me, a perfect figure. He smoked cigars. He had a candle on a skull that was lit, and he sat in a yellow chair and crossed his legs. A yellow rocking chair, which I've actually got to sit in because I know some people on the set. And it was just, I was glued every week. I went as a child. I watched it every week, either if it was on Friday or Saturday. Well, anyway, let's take a look. We're going to show a little bit of Bob and Bob's antics right now. We're going to take a clip. Look at this clip.
Wilkins, and I've been a monster movie fan all of my life. In fact, I've been a horror movie host on television for well over a decade. I guess I've frightened a lot of people along the way, including the gentleman you just saw at the top of the show. But I'd like to share some things with you this evening. Some of it will be frightening, others entertaining, some informative. We've got film clips for you tonight from some of the greatest horror films of all time, and from some of the losers, too. We'll have interviews with the late Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, even Christopher Lee, and a movie monster quiz where you fans at home can match wits with our studio experts. We've got coming attractions, a coming attraction film festival that I think you'll really like, and lots more. But at the top of the show, what was the most frightening film of all time? Well, over the years, monster movie fans have selected this movie as the scariest film of them all.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead. The dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living. The living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. More shattering than your strangest nightmare.
That was a good one. Night of the Living Dead, a low-budget effort made in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And film director George Romero proved once and for all that you don't need a big budget or you don't need big-name Hollywood stars to frighten people. And that's what horror movies are. That's what they're all about. That's why they're so much fun. You never know what you're going to see. Okay? Coming up, we're going to take a little break now, but we'll be right back with a short history of horror films and the people who made them.
Deadpan, don't you think, Walt? I mean, his not really expressional.
He's
you know what
dry,
I mean? It's just
sense
very
of humor,
dry,
cool, low key,
and I mean, and the best part was there was no internet, and there was no real. There was a couple of the famous Monster movie, Monster magazine, but he interviewed so many great people. Tell him, Walt.
Well, he had Christopher Lee on, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, John Landis, and
Ray Bradbury, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He interviewed everybody that had anything to do with George Lucas at one time. He was an early pioneer in this, and
also he brought guests on that said they were Martians or vampires, quirky things like that.
Yeah, that's what made
And he
the
tried
show.
to shoot them down and make fun of them, and made it funny. But
that was the whole idea, is the guests, which were, very interesting. And they could be anybody from a cartoonist for a comic book, or anybody for a horror designer for costumes, or anything like that they did. And to me, I had to show respect to this show. And
I think he influences you in this show because you
does.
have different
Look at my
guests
set.
on.
I mean, my set is completely, when I was thinking about this and we were putting this together, I was thinking creature features the whole time. And so I just wanted to, it was so much, and still is a big part of my life, that I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to talk about Bob. Bob ended his tenure on Creature Features in 1979, and he had some other things that he did, because he was the weatherman, right?
Right, on Channel 2 also, that was kind of cool seeing him again.
And then he did that daytime kid show. What was that called?
Captain Cosmic.
Captain Cosmic, right, where he showed, I think it was...
he dressed in a costume.
Johnny Sacco. They showed Johnny Sacco or Ultraman or something, and he dressed in the costume.
Right, the kids thing.
But after Bob retired in 79, the show continued for another 5 years, I believe, from 79 to 84, with another host named John Stanley. And John is a very credible movie critic and movie writer.
He's 33 years as the entertainment writer for the SF Chronicle newspaper, which is huge here in San Francisco. And he published 18 books and was the director of Nightmare in Blood, which you love.
I've seen like 2 or 3 times, and it's a Bay Area movie. I love the premise. It was filmed a lot around the Bay Area. A lot of it was filmed at the Fox Theater in Oakland, if you've never had a chance to see this. And I liked his style because he did some kind of quirky stuff. If there was a theme of a movie that he would show, he would kind of maybe sometimes dress up in a costume and kind of do a an intro for that. We're going to take a little bit look at John right now. Let's look at John hosting.
On. Hey, get away from those comic books. Get away, I said. Get away. Sit down. Gargantua, sit down. Sit down. Boy, I'm telling you. You ever try to live with a gorilla? Fans, I want you to meet Gargantua. He's a gorilla film actor. Very famous in Hollywood, you know.
And that was kind of funny because he used to do it was a little different from what Bob did,
right?
But still in the same pocket. And
right.
You made a list of some movies that was on there, Walter.
Well,
to talk about the movies that was on.
Well, of course, they always did Dracula and the Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, but also some sci-fi like the Andromeda Strain and Omega Man, Soylent Green.
Yeah, and you got to remember. This was the only place you got to see a horror movie.
There was no YouTube.
There was no nothing, and no other station, even kind of the local stations that'll show those late night movies, wouldn't necessarily run a horror movie if it wasn't around Halloween time. The only place you got it was in Creature Features, and
there was no VCRs. You couldn't record it back then either, right?
And no DVRs,
right.
No none of that stuff. If Dracula or Night of the Living Dead or Frankenstein was coming on Creature Features on 10:30 on Friday night, you had to sit through it and watch the commercials and everything, and that's just the way. But to me, that was the fun of it. I was
just going to say that because when they cut to the host, Bob or John, it was still awesome. You felt like you're in a set
right.
with them.
You feel like you're watching a movie
them, right?
And they're commenting on that. And so after so John went all the way till about 1984, and then the show with all the other media outlets and all other ways. Cable was coming big at that time.
And what happened was that the royalties on the movies, as cable came into the picture, there's more people buying it, so the prices went up, and it kind of outpriced a small studio version to do Creature Features. So it became a lot more expensive, and the network decided to end it. Which was sad. Yeah, a childhood with this. Childhood memories.
That's what it
was.
Okay, shoot. 32 years ahead, and they brought it back.
Vincent Van Dahl.
That's right. Creature Features is back, and it's on a local station that everybody knows if you're in the Bay Area, Coffee,
right.
TV 20. And if you don't, you can just go to creaturefeatures.tv and see all the episodes, and you can see all the backlogged episodes that they've ever done
on his website.
And you can go to YouTube and get them. And I love the new cast. They keep in vein with playing respect to Bob Wilkins.
The 21st century version of Creature Features.
And they keep it in the same light. I love every one of them. The host is Vincent Van Dahl, who's an old rocker who left being a rocker in England and came to the United States with his valet, Livingstone, and their ward, Tangela, and they moved to Bodega Bay in the Polta mansion up on the hill. It's kind of creepy. I love every time I go there, but it seems to rain. It's like
it's awesome.
Like the Munsters mansion. It's always dreary around there, and they've taken the show over and done it so much justice. I watch this show every week. Let's take a look at Vince right now,
or at least snake people, on an island in a film entitled Isle of the Snake People. Starring the legendary Boris Karloff in his almost final performance, this 1971 classic is a fabulous departure from the normal rubbish we serve so copiously upon our friends at home. And joining us tonight...
May I be excused?
In God's name, what for?
I would like to separate myself from that.
Oh, shoes and socks, Livingstone. You're such a panty waste. Tangela, please take your toy outdoors. Off you go. And joining us tonight will be heavy metal superstar Wayne Lozenak, the lead guitarist of the fabulous musical troupe called Hatebreed. He'll tell us all about his recent capers on tour, talk to us about the music business, and provide me with the insights about the portions of this film for which I shall inevitably fail to comprehend. So don't go away, and stay with us for another headbanging episode of Creature Features! Stay tuned.
See his deadpan giveaway. I think it's great, and his banter with his
he's
butler.
classic. He's laid back, too.
And the house setting is just so
He's taken
creepy.
the show
I've been up to the mansion
and risen
before,
it from the dead.
and to me, they pay so much respect, and he pays so much respect to it, and the banter that goes amongst the three of them, Livingstone, his butler, is just, you can see that he loves Vince so much, but he's so like annoyed with all of his antics. Let's take a look at some of what Livingstone and Vincent go back and forth and do.
Welcome back to Creature Features. We are watching a film with the dog. A dog film with the dog. Can you believe that? This small rodent of yours, Tangela, is shivering again, and I don't know what to make of it. But I think he's scared of the number one dog in this film, the Doberman. I could be wrong, I don't know. Right?
Anything is possible.
You know, he's normally a lot more chatty than this, but I think he's camera shy. Yeah, you've been used to this. And I think Tangela is going to rectify the issue for us right away. So anyways, the film is progressing quite nicely. We've got Victoria using a mainframe computer to determine she's dying. And I think she's got a cure in mind, don't you?
Perhaps. She seems very intelligent.
Oh, that's a lovely chapeau.
Oh, I'm sure.
She's quite the fashion designer. I think she could assemble quite a nice outfit for you, Livingstone. So the film, 1976, that was a good year for movies. I mean, that was right before Star Wars came out. It's got Rock Hudson. I mean, he's famous. He kissed Doris Day before she died. Long time before she died. But, a lot of these people are gone. Roddy McDowell is no longer with us. But Barbara Carrera is still with us, which is rather nice. Oh, I love this one. You know, Livingstone, I never pictured you as Noompa Loompa, but now I can.
How unfortunate.
I think you should keep that on him. Perhaps the next intro will do with that. So, Livingstone, you like the film, eh?
As I said, it's interesting. A few plot holes, but
Yeah.
typical.
Well, what's interesting is that wig on your head, and there's a few plot holes in that as well, but we won't discuss them at the moment because Tangela's going to put the crowning glory on you. All right. I think on that happy note, we're going to go off to the film, and we'll be back soon. Stay with us.
Must I?
To me, Walter, it's the banter that goes back and forth.
It's funny.
With these guys. It's funny. It creates something. I love watching it every week. And honestly, I have to, sometimes I don't like the movies, and I'll fast forward through the movies just to get to the segments because they're so funny and so good. And to round them all off, Tangela, who is Vincent's house ward, and
People love her.
well, they do love her, and she's always up to no good. Let's take a look at what Tangela does from time to time.
Tangela. Tangela, Tangela.
And they have this handyman on the show named Andy, and she's always kicking Andy's ass in one way or another. And it seems like her and Livingstone, I know that they truly love each other, but there's always this kind of rivalry, kind of tugging at Vincent to see which one of them, he's going to favor, and sometimes it's Livingstone, sometimes it's Tangela. But to me, they have brought the essence of this show back. The type of movies or the B and C level stuff that you just don't get to see anymore because nobody's got the balls to show them. And honestly, some of the movies we've went in the last couple of weeks and reviewed at the theaters, these movies blow them away, and I'm
That's true.
paying
I
for
was
those
saying
damn
that to
movies.
you earlier.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
there was a couple of movies they've shown recently that I'm like, I like that movie. I thought that was. I'll call him from time to time and tell him, Vincent, I like the movie you shown this week. I think it was really good.
And Steve, weren't you were invited to be on a guest as a show? And made
Well,
an
that's kind
appearance.
of how it started for me. I was actually invited to be a guest, which to me was like
An
bucket
honor.
bucket list shit. And then when I was on the show, I noticed that they used a different intro, and I said, what about the old Creature Feature song? And they said, well, nobody's ever wanted to actually recreate the song. And I said, well, can I do it? And I went into the studio with my son and Costa Varvatakis from Hatriot, those two, and I went in with Juan Urtiaga, who's been on the show before, Trident Studios, and we redid the old Creature Feature song.
but kept it true.
But kept it true. We're going to run that right now, too. A little bit of it.
Can you picture that awful creature? Can you picture that ugly creature? With Livingstone and Tangela too.
I thought the edits were great. Vince always tells me that he loves the song and the way the song came out, but to me, the edits are great. And if you want to see the full version of the song, just watch the show. And so I feel kind
That's
of
an honor to be a piece
part,
of that,
a piece of the show, and my name's in the credits every
love
week
it.
at the end. And believe me, I can just die on this one. And I've had some of my other rocker friends. Wayne from Hatebreed came in, and Will from Death Angel. He was on, and I, getting some of my rocker buddies in there because Vince an old rocker, but
Yeah, Will's gonna make an appearance, right? I read that.
he did. He's
Oh,
on.
he-
He's been
oh,
on
he's
already.
on
Yeah,
already.
he's already done an episode. He did an episode. So, all you guys out there,
And you can see them on his website, right?
yeah,
You can see
creaturefeatures.tv,
these old ones.
or go to YouTube and catch it, or every Saturday night at 10 o'clock if you're in the Bay Area, Coffee TV 20, set your DVRs. Creature Features is back, and I am so pleased that I am a little bit a part of the show. And the reason we did this is because we're leading it up to Creatures Con, which is going to be Sunday, July 7th, and all of the Creature Feature people will be there. Unfortunately, Bob passed away in 2009, but he won't be there. But John Stanley will be there, and Vincent, Tangela, and Livingstone will be there.
Sunday, July 7th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., San Ramon Marriott in California. Hey, and don't you got a Bob Wilkins autographed poster?
I
in
have
your
it
living room?
framed on my wall. I have actually two pictures of Bob Wilkins on my wall, but one of them is
Impressive.
actually signed from him, and I cherish this type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that I love. You know what I mean? Like I said, I talk about things on this show that I really, really like, and what made me. So a lot of you people ask, what made Zetro when he was a kid? Well, I'll tell you what, Creature Features had a huge part to do with it.
And the show now.
And the new Creature Features. So check it out if you haven't. It's really entertaining. It's the old school watch a movie along with the horror host and riff on it. It's hella funny. You guys, leave me comments. Tell me if you used to watch Creature Features back in the day and what you think of my version of the song. And obviously, subscribe to my channel. And what else? You got anything else on that one?
Yeah, the older you are, like me, watched more of it.
Well, to me, exactly. It's for the old school. So, if July 7th comes around, we'll see you at CreatureCon. Otherwise, we'll see you in the vault next time.